The signal. Admiral Diana Winters stood at the observation deck of the Orbital Defense Station Alpha, her dark eyes fixed on the endless expanse of stars. After 30 years of service in Earth's classified Space Defense Initiative, she had learned to read the silence of space. Tonight, that silence felt different. "Admiral, we're picking up something unusual." Commander Marcus Rivera's voice cracked through her neural implant. "The quantum arrays are detecting massive gravitational distortions at the edge of the Kuiper belt." "Show me," Diana commanded, her cybernetic eye automatically linking with the station's primary sensor grid. The holographic display materialized before her, showing a cascade of distortion waves rippling through spacetime. She had seen these patterns before, in classified files dating back to the first alien encounter of 1982. In the control room, Dr. James Richardson hunched over his console, his weathered hands dancing across the holographic interface. As Earth's leading expert in xenophysics, he had spent decades studying the technology salvaged from the dozen alien scout ships they had quietly captured over the years. "These signatures," he muttered, "they're identical to the Centauri incursion of 2018, but magnified 1,000-fold. Whatever's coming, it's big." Diana activated the secure quantum channel to Earth Defense Command. "This is Admiral Winters. Initiate Protocol Omega. Authorization. Winters 7 Delta 9." Throughout the solar system, hidden defense platforms stirred to life. Beneath the surfaces of Mars, Europa, and Titan, automated factories began producing advanced weapon systems. On Earth, deep underground facilities activated their power cores, illuminating vast hangars containing vessels that would make most science fiction writers doubt their imagination. "Dr. Richardson," Diana called out, "what's your assessment?" James projected a three-dimensional map of the approaching gravitational distortions. "Based on these readings, we're looking at a fleet. My conservative estimate puts it at 50 capital ships, possibly twice that number of support vessels. They're using a form of space-time manipulation we haven't seen before." Diana smiled grimly. "They think they're surprising us. 30 years we've kept this secret. 30 years of capturing their scouts, reverse engineering their technology, and building our defenses. Computer, display Project Prometheus status." The holographic display shifted, showing a massive orbital ring hidden in Earth's thermosphere. Thousands of quantum-linked satellites formed an invisible shield around the planet, each capable of redirecting massive amounts of energy. It was humanity's greatest achievement, and not a single civilian knew it existed. "Commander Rivera, begin evacuation of non-essential personnel from all orbital facilities." "Dr. Richardson, I want a complete analysis of their propulsion signatures. If they're using new tech, I want to know how to counter it." As the station burst into activity, Diana received another alert. Deep space probes had captured visual data of the approaching fleet. The ships were massive, their dark hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it. They moved with an organic grace that suggested a level of technology far beyond what their scout ships had possessed. "They're broadcasting something," announced Lieutenant Sophia Puddle from the communication station. "It's being transmitted on all frequencies, in over 1,000 different formats." "Let's hear it," Diana ordered. The message filled the control room, translated by their quantum AI. "To the primitive species of Sol 3. Your world has been chosen for integration into the Galactic Concordat. Resistance is unnecessary. Accept your place in the greater galaxy." Diana's cybernetic eye whirred as she processed the message. "Send no response. Let them think their transmission wasn't received." She turned to her crew. "Ladies and gentlemen, what's about to happen will change human history forever. For 3 decades, we've prepared for this moment. We've kept our true capabilities hidden, letting them think we were just another primitive species barely reaching for the stars." She walked to the center of the control room, her presence commanding attention. "But we're not primitive. We're humanity. We took their technology and improved it. We studied their weapons and built better ones. We learned their weaknesses and developed countermeasures they couldn't imagine." Dr. Richardson's console beeped urgently. "Admiral, they're accelerating. At current velocity, they'll reach Earth orbit in 72 hours. Diana nodded, activating the global defense grid with a thought. Across the solar system, humanity's hidden arsenal awakened. Perfect. That gives us exactly enough time to show them why you should never underestimate human ingenuity. Begin Operation Thunderbolt." Throughout the station, crews rushed to their battle stations. In hidden bases across Earth, pilots prepared to board ships that officially didn't exist. And in the darkness of space, humanity's defenders prepared to reveal just how far they'd come. The game of pretending to be primitive was over. It was time to show the galaxy what humanity could really do. The hidden cure. 3 weeks after the Zeraxian attack, Dr. Isabella Reyes stood in a secure briefing room 50 levels beneath the Rocky Mountains. The assembled world leaders watched intently as she projected her latest findings. The Zeraxians made 3 critical miscalculations, she began, manipulating the holographic display to show the alien pathogen structure. First, they assumed our medical technology was primitive. Second, they didn't account for human genetic diversity. But their biggest mistake was not realizing we've been preparing for something like this for decades. The display shifted to show a complex molecular structure. This is Project Prometheus. It's a classified biotech program we started after the pandemic of 2025. We've spent 20 years developing adaptive synthetic antibodies that can be reprogrammed to fight any biological threat. Admiral Patil leaned forward. And it works against their weapon. Better than that. Isabella smiled. It doesn't just neutralize their pathogen. It lets us understand exactly how their biological technology works. And we found something fascinating. The hologram changed again, showing 2 DNA structures side by side. The Zeraxians engineered their weapon to be perfect, too perfect. It's like a lock that only fits one key. But human DNA is chaos in comparison. We have countless variations, mutations, and adaptations built up over millennia of evolution. Their weapon simply can't adapt fast enough to affect all of us. "What about the infected populations?" asked President Kira Wong of the Pacific Alliance. "Already recovering. The synthetic antibodies are working. And we found something else." Isabella brought up new data. Some humans aren't just immune. Their bodies are actively destroying the alien pathogen and creating new antibodies we've never seen before. We're evolving defenses in real time. In orbit, the Zeraxian ships maintained their positions, their sensors detecting decreasing infection rates, but unable to understand why their perfect weapon was failing. High Commander Vex received increasingly confused reports from their biological warfare division. Deep in their crystalline flagship, Zeraxian scientists struggled to comprehend the data they were receiving. The humans weren't just surviving, they were adapting. Every attempt to modify the pathogen was met with an even stronger immune response. Back in the mountain facility, Dr. Reyes revealed the next phase of humanity's response. "We've done more than just cure their disease. We've reverse-engineered their entire biological warfare system. And we found their weakness." The hologram showed a new molecule, one that pulsed with engineered precision. Zeraxian biology is even more perfect than their weapons, and that's their vulnerability. They've engineered themselves to be the apex of evolution, eliminating all genetic variation in the process. They're identical on a genetic level, every single one of them. Admiral Patil understood immediately. They have no natural immunity, no biological diversity to fall back on. Exactly. Isabella's eyes gleamed. They made themselves perfect, but in doing so, they made themselves vulnerable. One successful pathogen could affect their entire species equally. They didn't just give us their weapons technology. They handed us the key to their entire biological defense system. In secured labs worldwide, scientists worked around the clock, combining human biotechnology with what they'd learned from the Zeraxian pathogen. They weren't just developing a weapon. They were creating something that would demonstrate humanity's true mastery of biological science. President Wong studied the latest progress reports. How long until we're ready? The countermeasure is already synthesized, Isabella replied. We can deploy it whenever we choose. But here's the elegant part. We designed it to be non-lethal. It will incapacitate their forces without causing permanent harm. We're not just going to defeat them. We're going to show them a better way to use this technology. Admiral Patel nodded approvingly. They attacked us thinking we were savages. Let's show them what real civilization looks like. In orbit, the Ziraxian fleet remained unaware of what was coming. Their perfect society, with its perfect biology and perfect weapons, had never encountered a species that thrived on imperfection, that turned chaos and diversity into strength. Deep in the mountain facility, Dr. Reyes made final adjustments to the delivery system. The engineered counteragent was elegant in its design, a biological key crafted to unlock the Ziraxians' genetic uniformity. It would spread through their ship's life support systems, carried by the very atmospheric processors they used to maintain their perfect environment. They thought they were testing us, she told her team as they prepared for deployment. In reality, they were giving us exactly what we needed to show the galaxy why humanity's apparent biological messiness is actually our greatest strength. As Earth's hidden biological defense network powered up, humanity prepared to demonstrate that in the age of engineered weapons, the most powerful force wasn't perfect design. It was the ability to adapt, to change, and to learn from every challenge. The Ziraxians had started this war with a biological weapon. Humanity would end it with a lesson about the true nature of biological advancement. Counter-engineering. Operation Stardust began at dawn. From hidden facilities across Earth, specially modified satellites lifted into orbit, their payloads invisible to Ziraxian sensors. The aliens' crystalline ships continued their silent vigil, unaware that humanity's response was literally floating through their own air filtration systems. In the Mountain Command Center, Dr. Reyes monitored the deployment alongside Admiral Patel. The delivery systems are functioning exactly as designed, she reported, watching as quantum sensors tracked the spread of their engineered countermeasure. The Ziraxians' life support systems are doing our work for us, spreading the agent through their entire fleet. How long until we see effects? Admiral Patel asked, his eyes fixed on the tactical display showing the Ziraxian fleet positions. Any moment now. Their genetic uniformity makes them incredibly vulnerable. Once the agent enters their systems, she paused as new data flooded her screens. It's starting. Aboard the Ziraxian flagship, High Commander Vex felt it first, a strange sensation in his crystalline structure, as if his very molecules were becoming uncertain. Around him, his crew began experiencing the same symptoms. Their perfect engineered bodies were responding to something they'd never encountered before. Report, he demanded, his crystalline form flickering with disturbed light patterns. What's happening to us? His science officer, already struggling to maintain coherent form, managed to analyze the agent now spreading through their ships. Impossible, the officer stuttered. The humans, they've created a targeted molecular destabilizer. It's affecting our engineered genetic structure, but it's not destroying it. It's teaching it chaos. In the mountain facility, Dr. Reyes explained what was happening to the assembled human leadership. We didn't just create a weapon, she said, bringing up live feeds from their quantum sensors. We created a biological teaching tool. The agent isn't attacking their genetic structure. It's introducing controlled mutations, showing their bodies how to adapt and change. President Wong leaned forward. You're not just incapacitating them. You're trying to help them. Their genetic perfection is killing them, Isabella explained. They've engineered themselves into an evolutionary dead end. No variation, no ability to adapt to new threats. Our agent shows them another way. It introduces just enough chaos into their systems to teach them how to evolve again. Aboard the Ziraxian ships, panic gave way to confusion, then to astonishment. The crystalline beings watched as their perfect, uniform structures began to show subtle variations. Colors shifted, patterns changed, and for the first time in thousands of years, No two Ziraxians looked exactly alike. High Commander Vex, his own form now shimmering with new patterns, received reports from throughout the fleet. Their weapons were offline. Their perfectly engineered bodies needed time to adjust to their new state. But they were alive, and they were changing in ways their scientists had believed impossible. "Send a transmission to Earth," he ordered, his voice carrying new harmonics it had never held before. "We need to talk." In the mountain facility, Dr. Rice and her team monitored the changes sweeping through the Ziraxian fleet. "The transformations are stabilizing," she reported. "They're maintaining consciousness and basic functions, but their weapon systems require a level of biological uniformity they no longer possess. They're effectively neutralized, but also improved." Admiral Patel nodded slowly. "We didn't just defend ourselves. We showed them a better way to exist." He turned to President Wang. "Should we accept their communication request?" "Yes," Wang replied. "But let's show them everything." Dr. Rice, prepare your data on human genetic diversity and adaptation. Admiral, ready the reports on our biological defense capabilities. She smiled. "Let's show them exactly who they're dealing with." As the command center prepared for the first real dialogue with the Ziraxians, Dr. Rice made a final check of her data. The agent had worked better than they'd hoped, introducing controlled chaos into the Ziraxians' perfect but stagnant biology. They'd given their would-be conquerors something they'd lost millennia ago: the ability to change, to grow, to become more than what they were engineered to be. "They came to change us," she mused, watching the shifting patterns of light now playing across the Ziraxian ships. "Instead, we changed them, not through destruction, but through evolution." High Commander Vex's image appeared on the main screen, his crystalline form now swirling with unprecedented patterns of light and color. The perfect uniformity of the Ziraxian Empire had given way to something new, something more alive. The real victory wasn't just in defending Earth. It was in showing an ancient species that perfection wasn't the end of evolution. It was the enemy of it. Humanity had turned a biological attack into a gift of renewal, and in doing so, had demonstrated why they deserved their place among the stars. The Silent Strike. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never hosted anything quite like this. Representatives from 200 spacefaring civilizations watched in stunned silence as Dr. Isabella Reyes presented humanity's analysis of the Ziraxian transformation. "What you're seeing," she explained, gesturing to the holographic display showing the before and after genetic structures of the Ziraxian species, "isn't just a defensive countermeasure. It's the key to breaking the evolutionary stagnation that has gripped many advanced civilizations." High Commander Vex, his crystalline form now rippling with complex patterns of light, stood beside her. The changes in his people were obvious to every being in the chamber. Where once all Ziraxians had been identical, now each one displayed unique patterns, colors, and even structural variations. "Our empire spent 10,000 years pursuing perfect uniformity." Vex addressed the council, his voice carrying new harmonics that would have been impossible in his previous form. "We thought we had achieved the pinnacle of evolution. We were wrong. We had engineered ourselves into extinction." The Arch-Minister of the Council, a being of pure energy contained in an ancient mechanical shell, moved forward. "This is unprecedented. The humans didn't just defeat a superior force, they improved it. Dr. Reyes, please explain how your species developed such advanced biological engineering capabilities." Isabella brought up new data, showing Earth's biological research history. "We never sought perfection," she explained. "Earth's history is one of constant adaptation. Every plague, every environmental change, every challenge forced us to evolve. When we began developing biological technology, we followed the same principle: adaptability over perfection." Admiral Patel stepped forward, adding to the presentation. "The Ziraxian attack wasn't just a failure, it was a revelation. It showed us that many advanced civilizations have fallen into the same trap, pursuing an ideal of perfection that actually makes them vulnerable. In the chamber's upper tiers, representatives from other genetically engineered species shifted uncomfortably. Many of them had followed paths similar to the Ziraxians, sacrificing biological diversity for what they saw as improvement. "We offer this technology freely," President Wong announced, causing a ripple of surprise through the chamber. The ability to reintroduce controlled adaptation into engineered species isn't a weapon to be hoarded. It's a tool for advancement that all species should have access to. The Archminister's energy form pulsed with interest. "And what do humans want in return for this gift?" "Recognition," Admiral Patel replied. "Not just of our technological capabilities, but of our approach to advancement. The galaxy needs both stability and chaos, both engineering and evolution. Humanity has learned to balance these forces." Dr. Rice activated the final part of her presentation, showing the new research initiatives already beginning between human and Ziraxian scientists. "We're not just sharing technology. We're sharing a new way of thinking about biological advancement. Perfect doesn't mean uniform. Advanced doesn't mean unchanging." High Commander Vex raised his crystalline hand, now shimmering with dozens of colors. "My people attacked Earth because we believed its biological chaos made it primitive. We couldn't have been more wrong. That very chaos, tempered by human science and wisdom, is what made them more advanced than us." The council chamber erupted in discussion. Representatives from worlds that had followed similar paths to the Ziraxians began requesting immediate consultations with Earth's biological engineering teams. Species that had maintained their biological diversity found their approaches suddenly validated by humanity's success. "There's more," Isabella continued once the chamber quieted. "Our studies of the transformed Ziraxians show something extraordinary. Their new genetic flexibility hasn't just changed their bodies, it's changing how they think. They're developing new ways of solving problems, new approaches to technology, new forms of art and expression." President Wong stepped forward. "We propose the establishment of a Galactic Institute of Evolutionary Biology, where all species can share their knowledge and learn from each other's approaches to advancement. Earth offers to host this institute, but its benefits will belong to everyone." The Archminister's energy form brightened. "You've done more than defend yourselves. You've shown us a fundamental flaw in how many civilizations approach advancement. The Council recognizes Earth not just as a technologically capable world, but as a teacher of crucial principles we have forgotten." As the formal recognition was recorded, Dr. Rice watched the transformed Ziraxians in the chamber. Their crystalline forms now displayed endless variations, each one unique, each one beautiful in its own way. They had come to Earth as conquerors, thinking their perfection made them superior. They were leaving as allies, understanding that true perfection lies in the ability to change. Galactic recognition. 5 years after the Ziraxian incident, Earth had transformed from a target for conquest into the galaxy's leading center for biological innovation. The Galactic Institute of Evolutionary Biology, built in the Himalayan mountains, hosted scientists from over 300 species, all studying the balance between engineered advancement and natural adaptation. Dr. Isabella Rice stood in the Institute's main research chamber, surrounded by beings from across the galaxy. Through the vast transparent dome, she could see ships from dozens of worlds moving through Earth's now busy orbital lanes. Each one carried scientists, diplomats, or students coming to learn what humans called the adaptation approach. "The latest results from the Andromeda sector are remarkable," she announced to the assembled researchers. 17 previously stagnant species have successfully undergone controlled reactivation of their evolutionary processes. Their societies are experiencing unprecedented periods of innovation and cultural growth. High Commander Vex, now Earth's primary liaison with the transformed Ziraxian Empire, stepped forward. His crystalline form shimmered with patterns that changed constantly, reflecting the dynamic nature his species had rediscovered. "Our own transformation was just the beginning," he said, activating a holographic display showing the spread of Earth's biological principles throughout the galaxy. "What humans taught us about the strength of controlled chaos, about the power of diversity, is reshaping galactic civilization itself. Admiral Patel, recently appointed as Earth's representative to the Galactic Council's Defense Committee, brought up new data. The military implications are profound. Species that once relied on biological uniformity for their defense systems are developing new adaptive approaches. We're seeing the emergence of what we might call evolutionary warfare doctrine, not about overwhelming force, but about the ability to adapt to any threat. In the Institute's diplomatic wing, President Wang met with representatives from newly transformed species. The changes weren't just biological. Societies that had once prized uniformity were experiencing explosions of art, music, and new forms of expression. Cultures that had stagnated for millennia were being reborn. The Galactic Council's latest assessment is clear, she told her staff. Earth's contribution to galactic civilization isn't just technological. It's philosophical. We've shown that true advancement comes not from eliminating chaos, but from learning to harness it. Dr. Reyes moved through the Institute's research levels, where laboratories hummed with activity. Human scientists worked alongside aliens of all forms, studying everything from basic genetic structures to advanced evolutionary algorithms. In one lab, a team was developing new ways to reintroduce controlled mutation into synthetic life forms. In another, researchers studied how biological diversity could enhance artificial intelligence. We've moved beyond simply curing stagnation, she explained to a group of new arrivals. We're discovering entirely new approaches to biological engineering. By combining the precision of advanced genetic science with the creative power of natural evolution, we're opening doors no one knew existed. The Archminister of the Galactic Council, making a rare personal visit to Earth, observed the activity with growing appreciation. Your species has changed our understanding of what it means to be advanced, they told the assembled Earth leadership. We thought advancement meant moving beyond the chaos of nature. You've shown us that true advancement means learning to use that chaos constructively. High Commander Vex, watching young Xeraxians whose forms displayed possibilities his species had forgotten could exist, added his own observation. We came to Earth thinking we would teach primitives their place in the galaxy. Instead, Earth taught the galaxy that what we thought was primitive, the ability to change, to adapt, to embrace chaos, was actually the most advanced capability of all. In orbit, the new Galactic Exchange Station served as a symbol of Earth's emergence as a major power. But unlike the military stations of other advanced worlds, this one was primarily dedicated to research and learning. Ships arrived daily bringing species seeking to understand how they too could reawaken their evolutionary potential. Dr. Reyes, standing in her private lab at the end of another busy day, reviewed the latest data from across the galaxy. The transformation that had begun with the Xeraxians had sparked a revolution in how civilizations thought about advancement. Species that had engineered themselves into static perfection were rediscovering the power of change. Worlds that had stagnated were experiencing new renaissance periods. We didn't just defend Earth, she mused, watching the sunset paint the Himalayas in colors that reminded her of Xeraxian crystal patterns. We showed the galaxy a new way forward, not through perfect uniformity, but through the perfect balance of order and chaos, of engineering and evolution. As night fell over the Institute, lights from thousands of laboratories and research centers created a constellation of human ingenuity on Earth's surface, visible even from space. The planet that many had once dismissed as primitive had become a beacon of true advancement, teaching the galaxy that the highest form of civilization wasn't one that had eliminated chaos, but one that had learned to dance with it. The age of static perfection was over. The era of adaptive advancement had begun, and humanity, with its unique understanding of how to balance chaos and order, would lead the way into this new future. The end.